I'm Sharyn Johnston. I'm from Australian Tea Masters, and I am here with Bernard Holsinger from Ebony Springs Tea Gardens. Yes? And Bernard is going to tell us an interesting story about his life in tea and how he started Ebony Springs and why. Because it's the most beautiful location, and it's actually how many kilometres from the town here? What's the name of the closest town?
Nawalapitia. It's about 8 kilometers. 7 kilometers along the main road where you turn off, and another one maybe.
Yeah.
Just to come here.
And what's the altitude here?
The altitude is just about just below 2,000 feet. 1,007, 1,008.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's.
Yeah.
I would say it's in the mid-grown area, and we come under the Norelia district.
Oh.
So the Norelia district will range in elevation from Norelia, which is over 8,000 feet, right down top to here.
Oh, okay.
This is probably the lowest area of the Norelia region.
Yes. Okay. All right. And so the reason being that we're so interested to come here is Bernard is producing the most unique teas. And he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, and then we're going to have a look at his teas. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, what happened was, 1967, I started my career as a tea planter. That was not a good time in the country. Things were very difficult to get, no jobs, and economic situation not good. So at that time, getting into planting was a good job. But it was not easy. The estates were still owned by the British. Most of the planters were Englishmen. So fortunately, I had two brothers already as planters. They worked their way into the system. And when it came to my time to be employed, I used to go and, or a few years before that, I used to spend a lot of holidays with my brother. It was nice to be up country in the tea and stuff. And I used to go there, spend holidays, go to the club and see that the senior planters, the British planters would notice me. And you played tennis and they would say, Bernard, can you play tennis with my wife? She hits the ball all over the place, I can't play with her. And so you get used to it. Then in the clubs, playing bridge was a big thing in the evenings after the tennis was over. They have their wash in the club washrooms and they get prepared with their cravats and all, and they sit and they play bridge. It was a very common activity they took. And sometimes when they were short for a fourth person, they would ask me. So it was a plus point if you played tennis and you knew to play bridge. And of course, you were a raga player. So planters had those three qualities. They would get into planting without any problem. And so you have to use influence. So you get a nice, good man who likes you, an Englishman, and he will say, you want to get into planting? And he talked to the company in Colombo and give me a recommendation, and he said, use my name as a referee. And so that's how we got it.
Right.
So today they take all these graduates and stuff, agricultural graduates. And at that time, when the English people were here, they wanted you to learn the way they taught you. They didn't want you to be qualified. Seriously. People would join as planters from the age of 18. And they wanted you to grow into their system and to learn from them. And you had to do what they told you. I remember one story, a true story. When I was going to planting, some people heard, and especially an uncle of mine said, very good job, Ben, but one thing you must remember, when you go there, just do what your boss tells you. If he tells you to plant the tea plant upside down, you don't argue with him, you just do it. So, that's how you are taught to obedience, to do what they told you, to carry out instructions and stuff. That was very important, to do the way your boss wanted you to do. And each estate boss had his own way of doing things, so you just followed what your man told you.
Oh, and you worked your way up.
Yeah, and then you get into the system. You have to be sometimes in the right place at the right time to get promoted. Very often, if you're an assistant superintendent, and in the old days, the English bosses had furlough. Once in 4 years, they get leave. 3 months because 1 month to go to London by ship, stay 1 month and 1 month to come back. So when he goes away, most often he doesn't like outside planters to be sent there to act for him. So he said, I want my assistant to act for me. And because he didn't want other people to know what he was up to, basically, what he was doing. So you acted for him, and if you did a good job, when you came back, he recommended you. And maybe when he got transferred, he would have said, I would suggest that so-and-so should replace me here. And that's how you moved up.
Interesting. So how did you end up getting all this way back to having your own place?
After being The time I retired, I must have been in about 30, 40 years in planting. And at that time, having worked in the upcountry for so many years, I just couldn't bear the thought of going and living in Colombo, all the heat and stuff like that. So actually, about 3 or 4 years before I made up my mind to retire, I was looking for places around the upcountry. This is not quite up, but it's high enough. The climate is quite different and cool. And this place came up, and I came and saw it. There was nothing here actually, except I noticed that there was water.
Very important.
Yes, so I just took the place. And we grew everything. Everything you see is what we planted. And so it's 20 years, so things have grown quite large. So,
Yeah, and what sort of teas do you produce here? We're going to have a look at some because what made you get into the artesian side?
yes, having just 2 or 3 acres of land and trying to sell your leaf to a bought leaf factory is not going to earn you enough money to live the kind of style of life that we were used to as planters and stuff. So I would have had to continue working or be in a job. Or I thought I must do something different, something more value adding to the tea. And so I made up mind. I started thinking about this, and I thought I was going for this artisan or handmade teas.
And you said they were called something else. What were they called before? So instead of artisan teas, you say innovative teas?
Innovative tea.
Innovative.
They used to have this world tea contest like in Russia and China and all the world, and they had this one category called innovative tea.
Oh.
Yes, so I don't know whether they still use that same term. So people used to make various different types of shapes and styles, and that's how I got into it.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
okay.
so I thought,
So we're going to have a look. How many different types of teas do you
about
produce here?
8 or 9. I make mostly the teas that are selling, of course, that sell better. But there are people who buy some of the rare ones. In this business of making these artisan teas, you always have to keep a minimum stock. It works like this. Somebody will call you, Bernard, can you give me some tea urchins or can you give me your tea rings and something? And you saying, I don't have any at the moment. Shall I make? No, it's okay then.
Yeah.
So you have stock and you must give it to him at once. Because all these guys up to now were asking samples for me when there was an international exhibition. And then they take samples from me and they say, this is what we make in this factory and this factory, and then one show my tea off at this place. So,
Yeah.
so that's how it.
Yeah. So they're very unusual. We're going to have a look at them.
Yeah. Okay.
And I then we're going to have a look at the factory, right? With your ladies making the tea. Or
yes.
you've got a small sample.
Very small. An operation, I would say, or it's not.
Yeah,
exactly.
but we're going to have a look at and it's kind of you to let us do that today. So thank you very much. And then
my pleasure, my privilege.
Yes.
Talking to you.
Oh, thank you. All right, and we'll have a look at the teas now. So thanks very much.